This is still AD 30. This is event 10 out of 12, and it's a second part of this particular series because there's so many things that happen in this Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. Jesus has been teaching in the synagogue, in the temple, and the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees and all of those have been dealing with him, and he's been answering them. And we come to a section that some have labeled the eight woes. And it's a woe to the scribes and the Pharisees and to those hypocrites that have been talking with him in the temple. And so we're going to take a look one more time tomorrow at the widow's mite, which is another event that happened all around the same time. And if you have a consecutive Bible and read the Bible in consecutive order, you'll find it's pretty jumbled right around here because it's pretty hard to tell exactly what happened in what order in this Tuesday and Wednesday time frame. But let's take a look at the 8 accusations that Jesus makes to the scribes and the Pharisees. He says they shut the doors to the kingdom of heaven. Not only for themselves, but for others, they block the entry into heaven because of their false doctrine and false teaching. Second one is that they continue to take advantage of widows, and they love to give their long prayers. And John Phillips and others have said the quality of a prayer is not by its length, but by its content and by the heart that's praying it. The third thing that they're charged of is being an example of true hypocrisy by wearing long tassels on their gowns and calling attention to themselves. The fourth is that they're blind guides. They are telling people false ways of taking an oath or making a commitment. They tell the people to make an oath or a commitment by gold or making it by a gift, when in fact it is the oath and the commitment is to be made towards God. And of course he says if you make your oath towards gold, it means nothing, but if you make it according to the temple which the gold is in, that's something. Or if you make your oath by gift, it's nothing, but if you make it by the altar, it's something, because that's where the gift is to be laid. Then he talks about tithing even down to the mint and to the herbs of the garden, and he says, but you neglect much greater things. And that's what we would today call majoring in the minors, and they would major in the minors. And he stresses that by using the phrase that I love, which is straining at a gnat but swallowing a camel. And then he condemns them because of the fact that they're facade and that they're cleaning the outside of a cup while the inside is filthy dirty, and it's just a facade. And actually the 6th and the 7th woe are very similar, because he talks about whitewashed tombs which look nice on the outside but inside contains the old bones and the old flesh of those that have been buried. And then number 8, he talks about the fact that they try to honor the old prophets by building tombs and monuments to them, and say they wouldn't do what their fathers did, but that's actually a confession that their fathers did mistreat the prophets and kill the prophets, and so they just confess that their heritage is one of doing the wrong thing instead of the right thing. And then he closes out in verse 31. This is Matthew 23. And he closes out by saying, therefore, you witness against yourselves. You're so filled with hypocrisy. He's listed 8 of these things. Woe to you because you do these things. And he really has laid 8 charges against them, which they're guilty of. And This is also found in Mark and Luke, but in a very, very abbreviated form in Mark chapter 12. Just 3 verses to cover these 8 points, and they don't get covered very well there. And then again in Luke chapter 20 and verses 45 through 47, and again they don't get covered very well. Some confuse these 8 woes with the Luke 11:37, but that Luke 11:37 is told in a dining experience with the Pharisees much earlier. This is in the temple, very close to the time of crucifixion. So you say, well, is it possible that it's misrepresented in one or the other? And the answer is no. But the charges against the scribes and the Pharisees are so similar that he uses some of the same illustrations, like cleaning the outside of a cup, or tithing a mint or a dill, or the tombs. Those are all similar. There's only 6 mentioned back in Luke 11, and certainly is a different list, but the same kind of charges, because the scribes and the Pharisees are the same kind of people back before in Luke 11, and now again just before the crucifixion. Stop. What are we supposed to learn from this? We're supposed to learn not to be like the scribes and the Pharisees. We're told that we need to clean from the inside out, not the outside in. We're told that we need to not major in minors, but we need to focus on what Christ has called us to do, and to take care of not only being true to the gospel, but being sure that we represent the gospel to others in a true fashion. Yes, the charges brought against the scribes and the Pharisees are warnings to us to be very careful that we don't become hypocritical and put on outside appearances that are not representative of what we are really inside, and to be sure that our walk and our talk are consistent. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.